All right, all right. Everything looks good, says we are live, so I have to go ahead and believe it. What is going on, everybody? It's your man James, aka JP, back again with another Arcade1Up live stream. Now, this has been the topic of discussion for the last, I don't even know, like maybe 2 weeks. I would say the cab itself has been the discussion for about a month or so when it was initially revealed, but things have really picked up in the last 2 weeks when a lot of news have come out about the cabinet, and a lot of people now are starting to get their hands on the Fast and the Furious Arcade1Up cab, and there's a lot of drama behind it. Some of it is warranted, but then there's also just a lot of hate, and that's one thing that I've noticed over the last couple days, which kind of made me want to go ahead and do this stream. I wanted to talk with you guys and find out, why is there so much hate for the Fast and the Furious Arcade1Up cabinet. Now, I don't really think there should be any hate towards the cab whatsoever. There's a couple things I would say probably to be disappointed by, and maybe stuff definitely to be mad about with Arcade1Up as far as their marketing and advertising for the cab. I think that is makes a lot of sense. And we're gonna get into all that. I have a whole list of notes. I just want to know what you guys think. And obviously, we just started this stream about a minute ago, so I want to give YouTube and everybody just a few minutes to get the notifications out to get into the stream, and I did start a few minutes early, so if people were waiting for me to start right at 7, then but how is everybody doing today? Have any of you picked up the Fast and the Furious Arcade1Up cab? If you have, let me know. I definitely want to know everybody's experiences with the cab. Now, from reviews and stuff that I've been seeing, a lot of people that have actually had the cabinet in hand, they have pretty much nothing but positive things to say about it. And that's one thing I noticed, is that a lot of the people that are hating on the cab or have negative things to say about the cab are people who don't even own the cab or have experienced the cab or played it before, which is very strange. And I don't know if we've seen this from any other cab before. Like, I don't know. I just feel like this cab has so much hate. And I think it all stems from, how do I put this? It stems from people not wanting this cab, essentially. It stems from people wanting Daytona USA or Cruis'N USA, but instead we got this out of nowhere. And I think that upset a lot of people. But at the same time, it's like, I look at it as like this is a gateway to get Cruis'N and Daytona USA. And if this is not necessarily a cabinet that you wanted, then just don't get it. But I mean, for the people who want it, it just makes sense. Like, let the people who want to get it and just wait a little bit longer, because if this cab is successful, especially with the technology that they put into it, with the steering wheel and the shifter and the pedals, which we've seen racing cabs before, but it seems like the Fast and the Furious one has the highest quality of parts compared to something like Ridge Racer, let's say. And I think a lot of people are just upset because they wanted Cruis'N or Daytona, but we ended up getting this, right? But me personally, like, if I had to choose between any of the three, just myself personally, I would actually choose Fast and the Furious, just because I love Fast and the Furious. I am such a huge fan. Like, I've mentioned this on the channel 100 times before. I'm a fan of all the movies. I have all the movies on Blu-ray. I have my ticket to go next week to see Fast 10. I have a bunch of die-cast cars. So I'm a really big Fast and the Furious fan. So for me, I love this cab. Now, at this price point, I don't necessarily love the cab. $600 is a lot of money to spend, and I just want to make sure that comments are working, so I'm just going to pull it up on my phone really quickly, because the last couple streams, the comments were being a little weird, so I just want to make sure. So yeah, chat is working. Gotham City Arcade said, hey brother. He said that a while ago. I saw that earlier today. I don't know if you're in this chat right now, Gotham City, but I know you'll be here soon, so what is up to you? Where was I going with that? So, yeah, I don't know. Just me, myself personally, I'm a big Fast and the Furious fan. Now, I do want to pull up my notes, because I have a whole list of stuff of just my personal beliefs and stuff I've seen other people saying about this cab, with the pros and cons. Now, I want to go over the pros really quickly. So, I've heard that the graphics are downgraded from the original cabinet, obviously, because the original cabinet runs on a PC, and this is running on, the Arcade1Up interface. But even though the graphics are downgraded from what I've seen, from all the gameplay I've seen, and from all the people who actually have the cab, they said the graphics still look really, really good. And I can imagine this probably will be one of the best looking cabs because it is one of the more graphically intense games that Arcade1Up has come up with, alongside, I would say, probably NFL Blitz and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 are the other kind of more graphically intense games, and probably something like Killer Instinct as well. So I would just imagine seeing this in person, this would be one of the more impressive looking, graphically impressive looking Arcade1Up cabs. And the frame rates, I've heard those are good as well. That no, it's not playing at 60 frames per second, it's playing at 30 frames per second. But everybody who's gotten the cab and played it in person said that, you couldn't even really tell that it's playing at 30 frames a second. Everything is smooth. There's no glitching or stuttering or anything like that. And everything runs as it should and looks really, really good. And then other pros that I've seen from different reviews, I've watched every review that's out there right now. The steering wheel, they're saying it's phenomenal. It's the best steering wheel that Arcade1Up has ever made. The feedback of the steering wheel and everything like that is just spot on and feels great. And also the shifter. Everyone's saying the shifter is really, really amazing. It's a nice, feeling shifter. And everyone says the speakers. Surprisingly, the speakers are probably the best and loudest and probably most clearest speakers that we've ever gotten from Arcade1Up, which is, that's really, really good to see. And we've come a long way from those original mono speakers from the Wave 1 of cabinets and even Wave 2 and 3, I think. And everyone has been saying that there's obviously no force feedback when you're racing, but they kind of replaced it with vibration, and everyone's saying that vibration feels pretty solid. It's not going to be the exact same thing as your force feedback like you would traditionally get, but the vibration is a good replacement. And I think the last thing I want to cover on the pros list is that it's just a ton of fun. It is a ton of fun. Now, when we get into the cons, we'll talk about things that are missing and cars that are missing and things like that. But everybody who has a cab says it's just a ton of fun, no matter which way you put it. So I think that's the most important thing to take away. Yes, there's probably things missing, and no, things aren't 100% arcade accurate, but it's still a ton of fun. Now, those were all the pros that I've gathered, right? So now let's get into the cons, because that list is a lot longer. Now, these aren't necessarily all my opinions. It's just stuff I've seen from the community of people saying, whether it's on the Facebook group or YouTube comments and things like that. So one big con for a lot of people is that it does not have original artwork. And yes, it's missing. I can't even talk. It's missing Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. Yes, that is true. But it still has the speedometer. It still has the Eclipse on there. So would I have liked to see Paul Walker and Vin Diesel? Yes, but I understand why they're not on there. And it's not like they changed the entire artwork of the cabinet. It's still the same artwork, just missing those two guys. Lone Wolf says, I don't think they screwed up. Raw Thrills isn't good with Nintendo and follows similar legal control. That explains the union of Fast and the Furious and Tokyo Drift maps and missing cars. It's the best Arcade1Up can do. People keep comparing their 600 cab to the commercial 5 to 10K coin-operated cabs. Of course, they had to cut some corners for that budget. And Carlos Sanchez says, hey, brother, I purchased Fast and Furious. I really like the gameplay, and the cabinet looks really cool. I must say, I feel the cabinet is too light. It tends to wobble quite a lot, especially when I'm shifting, but still super fun, and you love it. So that's my biggest complaint with the cab is, I wouldn't say necessarily that it feels light or anything like that. I don't have the cab myself, so I wouldn't know. But the cab suffers from being wobbly mainly because it's a stand-up cab. I think if it was a sit-down cab, you wouldn't have some of those wobbling issues. I mean, maybe you still would, but the steering wheel wouldn't be as high up on the cab because the cab would have to be shorter for a sitting down racing cab. So you're not going to have as much play in the steering wheel being high up. You're going to have it a lot lower to the ground, which would cut out and eliminate some of that wobbling that you're getting. I have that on my list as well, and that's a personal con of mine, but it's more so a preference rather than a complaint. And I said this in the past live streams that I've done and videos talking about this cab. Myself personally, I wish this was a sitting down racing cab, because when I'm playing a racing game, I want to feel immersed. I want to feel like I'm in the cockpit or the seat of that car, and just standing up really takes out of the immersion for me. And I don't like the whole concept of, you know, standing up and then still having to try and press the gas pedal and brakes and stuff like that. I just don't like it at all. So a personal preference of mine, and I guess you can consider it a con, is that this is not a sit down cab. This is a standing cab. So going back to the cons, yeah, the artwork, I know it's tough for some people out there. Some people want things 100% arcade accurate, and the artwork, unfortunately, they were not able to replicate that. But you could buy a decal kit and completely transform the art of your Fast and the Furious cab to look like the original cab, to have that artwork with Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. So that is another route you can take. Now, another con, and this one actually caught me by surprise because I didn't realize this when they first revealed the cab. There's no online gameplay. Now, to me, that sucks, and I don't understand why they didn't do that. So essentially, the only way you can play this cab is either single player, playing by yourself against the computers, or you can play it linked with other cabs, but those cabs have to be next to each other, essentially, whether you hardwire them or you do them over your local Wi-Fi. But there's no online gameplay, so I can't play, you know, I can't have a cab in my house and play somebody, you know, in another state or country or whatever. I don't know why they did that. I have no idea why this doesn't have online gameplay, and I will say, yes, that is a very big negative. Now, the fact that you can link the cabs, that is awesome, but I don't know why we had to get one over the other. I'm sure they could have found a way to do both. I don't know. I don't know. That baffles me why there's no online gameplay. Can Man 2000, I guess, or 00. Arcade1Up is too expensive nowadays. Most expensive cab should range from 349 to 389. These prices are insane. $600, no way. I will agree with you. I'm not paying $600 for this cab. I do like this cab. I think if we were to see it anywhere at the 400-ish price range, I think I'd be easier to sell on it. But also, I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that somewhere down the line they make a sit-down version. I think if enough people want it, maybe they'll do it, but they have to get it right. They're not going to do it if it ends up being like that original Star Wars sit-down cab where it was just too cramped, your knees were hitting the thing and things like that. I think they would have to kind of maybe like retool it, get the measurements different, and I don't know if they're willing to do all that. It's not as simple as just converting it into a sit-down cab. So I really hope that they find a way to do it. I know I'm not alone in this. I've seen a lot of people saying they wished it was a sit-down cab themselves. But, you know, if they make a sit-down cab, I'm probably sold on it. And if they don't, then I probably won't get it. Unless it goes on some crazy kind of Black Friday, 50% off type of sale, I'd probably consider it. Another thing people are talking about, people who own the cabs were saying that this isn't really so much a problem now because they updated it with a patch and everything like that. But on day one, if you got this early before the patch came out, there was no kind of clear indication on how you were supposed to link these cabs. I know there's a couple great videos out there. She Lion Gaming, I believe, is one of them who went really, really deep in depth and did a whole tutorial on how to actually link the cabs. But there was no clear instructions in the manual that comes with it, which it's like, if this is a main feature of the cab that you can link them together, why would there be no instructions in the manual to link the cabs together? And you kind of had to figure it out, I guess. That does, you know, obviously suck, but not the end of the world because obviously people have figured it out. And one thing I want to do, I have some gameplay here. I got a couple gameplay snippets from a few YouTubers, obviously, who have done reviews, with who I'll credit here. But I want to take a look at the gameplay just so you guys don't have to stare at my face the whole time. But let's take a look at some gameplay while I keep going through this list. And you will see the game seems to run pretty good. So I got like a couple snippets here from different YouTubers that'll be showing up here. So go check them out. Go subscribe to them. Check out the reviews. Give them a like. Tell them, I doubt any of them know me, but tell them the Toy Room sent you. Anyways, going on through the rest of the cons. And this is kind of the biggest one, the big elephant in the room, right? It's really only one game, not two games. So there's... What's the best way to put this? So you have the Fast and the Furious and the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. And you have levels missing from the Fast and the Furious game that you can only access those levels through the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. And you have, once you get into the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, you have stages from the Fast and the Furious game that you can't access. So, like, the menus and stuff are all exactly the same. The only difference is that some of the stages are grayed out and some of the cars are grayed out depending, or like blurred out, whatever you want to call it, depending on which game you're playing. So in that sense, it's kind of like you're only getting one game and they're just limiting the options in each game that you can do. Now, this is a tough one for me because I'm not that well versed in the Fast and the Furious arcade games. Maybe some of you can let me know in the comments, but the main difference between the Fast and the Furious arcade game and the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, to my knowledge, is in the Tokyo Drift game, obviously some of the stages and stuff are different, but in the Tokyo Drift game, aren't you able, like, that's the whole gimmick of the game, that your cars can drift? I honestly have no idea, and I'm just asking because I genuinely don't know. For any of you who are watching who might have the cabs themselves, if when you play the Tokyo Drift version of the game, is the gameplay different? Meaning, do you get that drifting ability with those cars in that game, or does it play exactly the same way as the Fast and the Furious arcade game on that cab? I don't know if the gameplay differs, because if the gameplay differs, then technically, I mean, you are kind of getting like two separate games, but the way they went about it by limiting the stages, and obviously they had to exclude some of the cars for licensing reasons, um, it's tough. It's tough. They market it as two games, and technically, if you want to be like technical, yes, it's two games, but when you really sit down and look at it, it's really just one game that's kind of split into two different parts to create the two games. But that is one thing I am wondering. In the Tokyo Drift version of the game, is the gameplay different where you can actually do the drifting? Because that would at least differentiate it a little bit compared to, Fast and the Furious, just the regular Fast and the Furious. That would be my thing. Carlos Sanchez says, I'll consider buying a second one if the prices go down considerably. If not, you'll stay with one. Yeah, so I've seen a few people who have bought two. I don't think I've seen anybody buy more than two, to my knowledge. But I'm definitely kind of like in that category. Well, I'm not paying the full price for one. That's just me because I'm limited on space and money, like I say every time, because I have a daughter on the way who will be here in 3 months. But if it came down to it and I did buy one full price, I would definitely wait to catch another one on sale, because essentially the only reason you're buying another one is to be able to link it and play local multiplayer. But other than that, you're getting no benefit out of having two of them. So definitely myself, I would wait. If I was going to get two, get one full price, and then, or, get one full price, or if you can catch one on a sale, great. But definitely wait for that second one. Wait for a sale on that second one. And now continuing on, again, we just touched on it where it has, two games, when it's really one game split into two halves, and the false advertising by Arcade1Up. And I think this is the biggest reason why people have so much hate for the cab, but their hate really shouldn't be directed towards the cabinet as much as it should be directed towards Arcade1Up for that false advertising, which they have done time and time again. Obviously with NFL Blitz for 6 months, we didn't have online gameplay for that. For Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I think it was like 7 months, 8 months almost for the online gameplay for that. And now this one, they're advertising, hey, you're getting two games, but you're getting one. And I think it's that whole marketing thing that Arcade1Up has been doing lately, where it's just like, man, this sucks. Because I don't want to see Arcade1Up doing this, but it's not right what they're doing. They need to be straight up and honest. And if you notice, they have been very, very quiet about it. When it came time to promote the cab, they had like 3 different Arcade1 update shows about it. But now that there's all this drama about the cab, obviously nobody's addressed it. Everybody's went quiet. Arcade1 update shows, nowhere to be around. So I hate when they do this, man. They always, I don't want to say they always, but as of late, they've been doing this where they have this false advertising, and then when people call them out on it or people are complaining about it, they end up disappearing, right? And I don't like it. It sucks. And I don't know what else we can do about it. We just got to keep calling out Arcade1Up, and eventually they'll come out of hiding. But yeah, it really does suck. And the video ended, so let me put myself back on the screen. There we go. So it really does suck that Arcade1Up has been doing this, but I don't know. What can you say? It's like you kind of almost expect it from Arcade1Up at this point. Console Fanboy says, sorry if this was already answered. Did I get this one? No. So I did not get it. Unfortunately not. I'm still not going to pay full price for it. But we're just talking about, I've watched every review that's out there. So I'm talking about everything that the reviewers have been saying, as well as everything that has been said in whether it's YouTube comments or the Facebook groups and stuff like that. So, just to kind of run through it again, all the pros from all the reviews I've seen are that even though the graphics and frame rates are downgraded from the original game, it still looks and plays smooth and great. The steering wheel / shifter, those all feel phenomenal. The speakers are probably the best speakers ever put into an Arcade1Up cabinet. And the vibration is a good replacement for the force feedback. So that's all the pros that we've talked about. Now I'm going through the cons now. Alex Cardenas, I'm really enjoying my 2. I just finished hardwiring them. So that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody that actually has their hands on the cab has nothing but positive things to say about it. Obviously, you know, a day or 2 ago, there was a couple of issues there, but once Arcade1Up released the patch, which let's commend them because they never release patches to fix things that quickly. So, you know, that's a good thing that they had the patch out just so fast. I got to commend them and got to give props where props are due. And another thing that people complain about, especially with these Arcade1Up cabs, is they always release unfinished products. Every time, at least lately, a cab comes out, there's always something missing, whether it's online or some update that needs to be done. And this is true, and some of it took way too long, like Blitz and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. But it's kind of like the day and age that we live in nowadays. There's not a single video game that I buy nowadays that does not have a day 1 patch ready to go to update things. So there's always things being put out unfinished. It's just kind of like the day and age we live, the tech world that we live in nowadays. That's not the issue. The issue is how long it takes you to fix and address these issues. So I am very happy that there was at least a patch, you know, I think it was yesterday or today. No, not today. I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before. Maybe it was today. I have no idea. But the patch is out. Things are running smooth. And everybody that has it couldn't be happier. In the original Fast and Furious, you couldn't drift. In Drift, you can. So if you were someone who liked the original, it is not on the system. The gameplay is different. Okay, so I think that was the answer to my question. I just want to make sure I understand this because I actually have no idea. So in the Fast and the Furious arcade cab, you have Fast and the Furious and the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Are you saying that in the regular Fast and the Furious, it still has the drift gameplay? Is that what's happening? I just want to be 100% clear because I honestly have no idea. And I do want to keep going on with some of these cons here. So a lot of people were saying that, you know, you had to have 2 or more cabinets to have the full experience, right? Because you can't play multiplayer on just one single cabinet. And I get it. And but it's like you go to any arcade if you want to play local multiplayer, there are 2 or more cabs there. I get people want the online play, but even doing the online play, yes, you're playing against other people, but in my opinion, the online play is kind of equivalent to playing single player against a computer by yourself. Like, you're getting the same experience. You just know in the back of your head that you're probably playing against better people online than you are the computers. I think that's the biggest difference for me, at least. And I'll get to your comments in a second. I just want to keep rolling through this list. The marquee. The marquee is not that great. Everyone's saying it's a light box marquee. I don't know. The people who have the cab say that it's not the best, but it still looks decent. I can definitely tell that it doesn't look as crisp as something like the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 marquee that I have. And you can tell that it does look kind of a little bit like washed out almost. And it sucks, but I'm just me judging off of videos. It doesn't look the best. It doesn't look the worst. But again, everybody that has the cabinet themselves, they're all saying that it looks pretty good. Like, it doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great. It's just mediocre, I guess. And we already covered this. Everyone's saying the cab is too expensive. I agree. $600 is expensive for something that does not have online gameplay enabled, or not even, not even enabled. It's just not present at all. So I do agree. It is cool that we are getting the linking technology, but I just don't know why we had to sacrifice one over the other. I'm sure there's some technological reason that somebody at Arcade1Up could explain to me, but I'm sure they probably could have found a way around it. But again, I don't know. That's just me. Alex Cardenas says, connected, play is smooth, no frame drops, music syncs up, save files are good. Both speakers running together improves the illusion of arcade play. Plastic pedals are rough, but the springs seem better. So that is something that I have seen people say. They have been complaining about the pedals, and yeah, they are just... I played the Ridge Racer cab in the Arcade1Up warehouse down here in Miami, I don't know, like a year ago, whenever that was. And yeah, if it's anything like the Ridge Racer pedals, it's very cheap, lightweight plastic. I don't know if there's any mods or like upgrades of some different type of pedals you can get to put in there. That would be nice. And it is a shame that when you have the steering wheel that's so nice and the shifter that's so nice, that they kind of cheaped out on the pedals, and they're not as high quality or up to the standard as the steering wheel or the shifter. So in the Drift arcade cab, you can drift. That was never a feature in the first Fast and Furious, so you just raced. So since they took drift and just split it, both of the games on the 1-Up cab have drift when the original did it. Okay, so I see what you're saying. I understand it now, and that definitely, I see what they did there. So they definitely just took Tokyo Drift and split it in half essentially, and advertised it as 2 games. So that makes sense. In my head, I thought the Fast and Furious game on the cabinet, the original one, the original game on the Arcade1Up cab, I thought that was the original gameplay, and then Drift had, the drifting gameplay. But yeah, that definitely, I don't know why they did that, and I guess it's kind of like a good thing that they did that for people who still want to get the cab, because that means this cab is not going to sell, and we are going to get this on sale at some point in time. So, yeah, I can't wrap my head around why they did that, and I find it hard to believe that anybody at the company, especially, like, we've seen John D claim that he didn't know that happened. I'm not saying he's a liar or anything like that, but I just find it hard to believe that somebody at the company didn't notice that, or whatever the case was. They have to know. It's kind of their job to know. So I don't know. I don't know, man. We already talked about it being a stand-up cab, that I myself, as well as other people out there, wish it was a sitting down cab. And I think the biggest con and the biggest reason that people are upset, and we mentioned this earlier, is because it has nothing to do with Fast and Furious. It's just because it's not Cruis'N or Daytona USA. That is the sole reason why so many people are so upset, because that's all people have been clamoring about. That's all that they wanted, and that's not what they got. And it's just like, be happy we got something. That this is, I look at this as a gateway to get Cruis'N or Daytona USA down the line. I just think it, I feel like they had to do this, to partner, to meet the deadline for Fast and Furious that's coming out, the new movie, Fast 10, that's coming out next week. I just feel like they probably had to do it, and they know that we want it, and Cruis'N and Daytona USA, they know that we want it, and I feel like it's only a matter of time. I feel like now that we got Fast and the Furious, I think it's only a matter of time. So that's just me. And if we don't, there's nothing wrong with Fast and Furious. I love Fast and Furious, but I think because I'm such a big Fast and Furious fan, but I think that's the other thing. Cruis'N USA and Daytona USA, while they're not identical games to Fast and Furious, they are almost like Fast and Furious is almost like a reskin of those games. Now, I know it's not like a one-to-one comparison, but Fast and Furious is basically Daytona USA or Cruis'N USA. Like, they're pretty identical games. Just obviously the vibe, the cars, the tracks are different, but gameplay is almost identical. And get to some of your comments here. Lone Wolf says, I think Arcade1Up was silent because they knew the games list and maps would cause concern. They need new licensing guy and or more money if they want to provide the original games as they were. Raw Thrills ain't Namco. That's the thing with a lot of these older either like racing games or wrestling games in particular. It's, when you had a game that came out in the 90s or the early 2000s, it's hard to do. This isn't just like Arcade1Up specifically. Like, let me see the best example. Where the heck is? Dang, it's over there. All right. I'll just do this one because I don't have Fight for New York. I have on Xbox and it's on my other video game shelf. But Def Jam Vendetta. This and Def Jam Fight for New York. These are two of the most popular games to get like requested to do like a remake or a remaster or something like that. We will never see a remaster or remake of this because licensing. Half of the rappers that or characters that were in these games, they're probably not even signed to Def Jam anymore. So with something like this, you're never gonna get a remaster. With something like Gran Turismo or Cruis'N USA, like the original games, it's harder to get remasters of those because you have to do the licensing for all those original cars, characters. If we're talking about wrestling games, even like if we go back to some of the other wrestling games from the 90s, it's just you're not ever going to get like 100% of all of the roster, whether it's cars, characters, whatever, because the licensing from the 90s is completely different now. So, example with who am I thinking of? All right, so like back in the 90s, you could play as Charles Barkley in any NBA game because he was in the NBA. Now, there's not a single NBA game that has Charles Barkley in it because he does not give anybody the rights to use him in video games. Him, Reggie Miller is a couple of them. So like that's why it's harder to remake some of these games. Even with NFL Blitz, I think there were a couple of players missing. NBA Jam had a few players missing from the roster. I'm sure Reggie Miller and Charles Barkley were probably missing for those games because they do not give the rights out. So you're never 100% going to get, like, when it comes to like racing games or games that have like famous people in them, you're never 100% going to get that original roster. It's just impossible nowadays. Hopefully that made sense. I know that was kind of like long-winded, but hopefully the example I was trying to give out made sense. Gallagher guy says that he thinks it's a good cab for sure, and he plans on getting a couple when they go on sale. I think that's kind of like everyone's consensus, is that they're just waiting for them to drop in price. On a side note, you love the VHS tapes that I got, childhood right there. Oh yeah, so this is my whole VHS collection over here. Is about 150 or so VHS tapes that I have. I'll just kind of pan. Oh, I can't actually really pan up that much because my light is right behind my screen right here. But check out my room tour if you haven't already. I show off all the VHS tapes that I have in my collection. And stay tuned for, I don't know when it's coming out, but I'm working on a video this week on a crazy like limited edition VCR that I got. It's pretty cool, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I love like, and it's kind of been my new thing lately, is like when I'm cleaning or organizing the room, I just take a VHS, pop it in the VCR, and just have the movie playing in the background. It just really takes me back to my childhood and gives me some nice nostalgic vibes. And I just love like watching and listening to the movie in the background while I'm organizing. The marquee needs to be replaced. It's a little washed out. Probably the only thing I would upgrade. So yeah, I was definitely talking about that earlier. Definitely that marquee, it doesn't look as crisp as the other ones. At this point, people have too much time on their hands and just want to complain about everything. Straight up, first world problems. The cab is fine. My kids love it. I couldn't agree more. And you know what's crazy? I posted the link to this stream on the Arcade1Up Facebook group. And I posted it this morning. And when I tell you my phone has not stopped, I literally just got a comment. I don't know if you guys can see, but I just got a comment. Like literally as soon as I opened Facebook. My phone has not stopped blowing up all day. All I did was post the link of this stream and just said I want to talk about it tonight, and so many people are just, it's just amazing the amount of attention and division, I would say, that this cab has brought. I just want to read some of the comments. Now I'm not going to show the comments on the screen because I don't want to put people's names out there and stuff. But people said like, I don't think this is necessarily a bad cab because it's more or less hate that Arcade1Up themselves as a company has been building because of their sleazy practices. I do agree with that. People will find any reason to complain about something. This is true. The hate started before we got any info on the cab because it's not Daytona or Cruis'N. I've been saying that this whole time. You think that the hate stems from Arcade1Up's false advertising. I do agree. Another cabinet that nobody asked for. Again, like, it's just, people are just upset that this isn't Cruis'N or Daytona. I think that's the biggest thing. Mostly the same as why any new cab does. Half the people in the group don't have the cash or space to buy it. That's hilarious. Shots fired. I feel like most of the hate on the new cabs is just petty stuff, but this hate seems completely warranted because of the game situation. I do agree with that. I wouldn't say it's necessarily reason to hate the cab, though. It's more so just hating Arcade1Up for their practices, because essentially the cab is just Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, right? That's no reason to hate the cab. It's just because Arcade1Up made it seem like you were getting 2 games when you're actually getting 1 game. Hopefully they update it. I doubt that they will, but hopefully they update it and have both games on there. I don't think so, though. EPT Cyclone, it says, yo, what up, Toy Room? What is going on? Welcome to the stream. Another person said that they think part of it is Arcade1Up falling off the wagon. The company has built itself on promise of arcade games, and then they don't deliver. So, again, I think a lot of people are just... Did I really get another comment on this post? I really just got another comment on this post. It does not stop. It's absolutely crazy. The main thing is because it's always something. NFL Blitz has the no late hits. Fast and the Furious has, only one game. It doesn't have the movie cars. It's missing cars, and again, that comes down to licensing. People love to complain, especially in this community. I do agree this community does have a lot of complaints, but I would say half the time, some of it is warranted. This community has some of the whiniest people around, and I'm just reading through these comments. I don't necessarily agree with everything being said. Like, some of it is true. There is a lot of complaining that goes on in this community, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily why people hate it. Your comments and setting are for subscribers only, just a heads up. Sorry, I'm just replying to a comment really quickly. Anyways, okay. So Music Mike says he has his on order and he can't wait to get it. You're an 80s kid and have no experience playing the original, but it looks cool and more options than Ridge Racer. So there you go. So for me, it's a little bit different. I was born in 93, so I grew up with Fast and Furious. And pretty much any arcade that I would go to growing up had, or even still has, Fast and Furious in the arcades till this day. So me, that nostalgia is there. But in your case, you have no ties to it. But at least if you did want to mod this some way to turn it into, some sort of modded racing cab and add different games on there, you can. And then you have the hardware, the better upgraded steering wheel from Ridge Racer, the better shifter from Ridge Racer. The only thing is I don't think you'd be able to link the cabs. I don't know how that would work. If you could still link the cabs after you mod it, probably not. Lone Wolf said this might, in fact, be our Cruis'N from Arcade1Up. It was for the Wii in a roundabout sense. Licensing is an issue for these games, like you said. Yeah, especially with Nintendo. I think has the rights or some of the rights for Cruis'N or something like that. So it's tough. I don't think. I don't know. I wouldn't rule out Cruis'N, but I think we're more likely to see Daytona USA. I don't think Nintendo has the rights for Daytona. I could be wrong. I don't know, but. You're actually thinking you might sell Ridge Racer when you get Fast and the Furious. Honestly, I would. I don't see why not. I mean, you have the ability to link the cabs. Does Ridge Racer have online gameplay? I honestly don't know. But if Ridge Racer doesn't even have the online gameplay with it, just sell Ridge Racer after you get Fast and Furious. It makes perfect sense to do that, and maybe use that money that you get from selling Ridge Racer and get yourself another Fast and the Furious cab. And that's kind of like you bought one cab and you get another one free. I don't know how much Ridge Racer is selling for. Maybe you'd be able to get like $400 for it. Maybe, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, definitely that sounds like a good idea. You got the Buy Stuff Ridge Racer mod. You're looking forward to all the modern racers. So, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what people do with Fast and Furious. Once they start modding that, I think that'll be really cool to see. And if somehow you can figure out how to, if you can mod it and still link cabs together, I mean, that would be insane. I don't think you can do that, but Ridge Racer only has leaderboards. Yeah, so definitely sell it. There's no point in keeping that. Honestly, if you want your racing fix, you got Fast and the Furious. People, it's wild. I think I'm getting more comments on the Facebook group than I am on the stream, which is hilarious, but, yeah, does anybody else have any thoughts and opinions on Fast and the Furious? From what I've seen in here, everyone's, I guess, comments have been pretty fair, I would say. Nobody's really, saying much negative about it. It's not a perfect cab by any means. Obviously, you got the games list situation, and you have the marquee and the cheap feeling pedals. But to me, just seeing everybody's reviews and stuff, everybody that actually has it in person, I think that the pros far outweigh the cons. I mean, you got great gameplay. It's fun. And you know what? Just one more time before we end up ending the stream, I will throw the gameplay video that I have right up here. I'll throw that back up on the screen. And definitely, like I said, check out all these YouTubers that have done the reviews that I'm showing off here. Go give them a like on their video, subscribe to their channel, and comment. Let them know that the Toy Room sent you. Just so you know, it's just my way. I'm using their video. I just want to shout them out and give them a little bit of exposure, and hopefully maybe get them a new subscriber or two. But you can definitely see on the marquee right there where Toxin's playing. The marquee definitely does look very washed out. I would say the Eclipse almost looks blue. It doesn't even look green. It almost looks blue. So, yeah, that marquee needs to go for sure. Garage Gamer says, everyone wanted Daytona. I 100% agree. Everyone wanted Daytona or Cruis'N, and I think that's why so many people are upset. And it just sucks because Fast and Furious is just... It's a great game, and it's just going to get overlooked because it's not something that people grew up playing, I guess. Fast and Furious caters more to people of my age. I grew up in 93. I am, how old am I now? I'm 29. So just, for me, I have more nostalgia over Fast and the Furious than I do Cruis'N or Daytona. Now, I've played both. I love Daytona USA. But I have more... I'm just a bigger fan of Fast and the Furious. I'm a car guy. Like, I'm into the car culture. I'm into modding cars, like in real life and stuff like that. I go to car shows and whatnot, car meets and all that. So just for me, Fast and the Furious just hits more for me. What kind of upset you was John D saying he didn't know it was one game. I'm like, come on, you knew, dude. You're trying to save your face. Yeah, like, maybe he didn't know. Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and say he didn't know. I feel like somebody had to know. Somebody somewhere had to know, because they're not going to make these changes and not notify anybody in the company. Like, somebody definitely had to know, and it just sucks that, you know, Arcade1Up is kind of being seen as sleazy nowadays, and they have bad, marketing. I'm just going to put this game back right behind me. They just have bad marketing strategy and techniques, and it's like, I get it. I understand everyone's frustration and things like that. And it really sucks because I'm such a big fan of Arcade1Up. You know, I've been covering them literally since day one. And I haven't agreed with everything that they've done as of lately. You know, little petty things like their Facebook groups scenario and then Blitz and Marvel vs. Capcom. But at the end of the day, I want to root for them. It's just becoming harder to nowadays because of all the shenanigans. But I love having these arcades in my setup. Now, granted, I only have 4 of them. You know, I have Street Fighter 2, the original one, Final Fight, the Pac-Man 40th Anniversary, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And I had the Marvel Superheroes one, but once I got Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I got rid of Marvel Superheroes because I basically was like duplicating what I had already. The only thing is I was missing Punisher, which, you know, it is what it is. It's just becoming harder and harder nowadays to root for Arcade1Up. But I do want them to succeed. I am a big fan of them, but they definitely need to change their marketing strategy or whatever they're doing. Stop with every time a new cab comes out, promising so much, under-delivering on that promise, and creating the FOMO, the fear of missing out, as everybody wants to call it. There's only 1,000 of these, limited time, they're gonna sell quickly, get it soon. What cab was that? Was it Fast and the Furious? Fast and the Furious or that Star Wars re-release where they're like, these will be gone by the end of the day, and like a week later they were still up on the website. Or maybe it was Killer Instinct. I don't even know, but I think the only cab that like has legitimately sold out every time has been Marvel vs. Capcom 2 because everybody wants that cab. But I mean, other than that, like, every cab is easy to find. That's why I still haven't picked up NFL Blitz, because I've been trying to catch it on a sale. I haven't got lucky yet, but I really, really do want NFL Blitz. I think that will be the cab I put the most time into, and that came out around the same time as Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and I had to prioritize, and I knew Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was going to be hard to find, and Blitz would be easy to find, and sure enough, it's still around. So hopefully one day I can catch it for $300 or under, because I would definitely get that. Music Mike said the Killer Instinct Pro. Yeah, that's right. Killer Instinct Pro. Yeah, there. What was it, like 1,000 of them? They said, and they were still around like a couple weeks later. Yo, people are still like my Facebook is going wild. Like, I just got another comment on the Facebook group, which is it's crazy to me. Oh man, you love your Blitz cab. Yeah, I definitely want that Blitz cab. That's the one cab where I'm just like, one of these days I'm gonna get it. You know, I got to experience it a little bit early when Arcade1Up invited me to their the warehouse in Miami, and I loved it then. The video's done. Let me put myself back on the screen. But yeah, I loved it then, and I love the original game as well. I put so many hours into NFL Blitz on the Nintendo 64 growing up, man. So yeah, definitely need to get Blitz in my life. That is the one cab, and it's funny because I say this all the time. I'm such a big basketball fan. Like, I love playing basketball in real life, watching basketball, playing NBA 2K, but for me, I get more enjoyment out of playing NFL Blitz than I do playing NBA Jam. I don't know why, just NFL Blitz is just so much more fun to me. Overpromising, overpricing, under-delivering, perfect for sales. I mean, that sums it up right there. Man, oh man, like, guys, it hurts me. It hurts me to have to criticize and call out Arcade1Up, but you know, you can't just sit back and be quiet about the things. Like, as much as when they do something good or there's a new product to talk about or whatever, as much as we talk about that, we also do need to call them out when they screw up and do bad things. And it is a bad thing, I will say. You know, telling people you're getting 2 cabs and you're only, or 2 games on the cab and you're only getting 1, yeah, straight up just false advertising at that point. But you know, the cab is still great. It is a great cab. A lot of people are having fun with it. You know, everybody who has it seems to enjoy it. So it's just like, I don't know. It's tough, right? It's just like, wait for it to go on sale, I guess. You know what you're getting now, right? Now that people have it, now that everything's confirmed that it's 2 games, not 1, or 1 game, not 2. I'm sorry. You know what you're getting into, so there's no shock. There's no reason to be like feel like you're getting burned by it, because you know what you're getting into. So just wait for it to go on sale. I'm sure it's gonna go on sale. Maybe Black Friday, something like that, or you know, just people are gonna play. Oh, right now the only place it's available is Best Buy, and it may. I don't know if it's staying exclusive to Best Buy or not. That's kind of the only tricky thing, but maybe it'll go on clearance at Best Buy at some point in time. If they were reverse that and under-promise and over-deliver, the fan base would be losing their mind. Hey, I do agree, but at the same time, people are still going to find something to complain about. And that's just what it is, man. It's just, people are always going to complain. Hey, P-Dubs, what's going on? Is that a VHS collection on your right? It is. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Got about 150 VHSs currently in my collection. And I love it, man. As my new thing to do is when I'm organizing my man cave, cleaning, whatever, I just pop a VHS into my VCR and watch some old school movies. And I really love going back and watching like those old commercials that you get, like the previews on the VHS tapes. And one thing that's crazy, like as a kid watching VHS tapes, the intros before the movie started always seemed like it was like 5 to 10 to 15 minutes long. And watching them now as an adult, they're all of like 3 minutes, which is crazy. Yeah, I got about 150. So right here alone, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 19. So I fit about 20 VHSs per shelf here, and we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I got 100 VHSs on this shelf right here, and I got, maybe it's not 150, it might be like 125, 130. I got some more on the other side of the room next to my VCR. So if you check out my room tour, I show this better in depth, but I'll just take a quick picture. Let me take a picture and I'll put it on the screen for you guys. Ugh. All right, let's do this the best that I can, given the space that I have here. And most of these VHS tapes, I've thrifted. You find these at thrift stores. Not so much nowadays. It depends, you know, what thrift store you go to. But you find these at thrift stores for like $1 or less. And here's what you got. Hold on, let me get in frame here. All right, so let me turn my brightness up also. There we go. So it's a little bit overexposed, but yeah, that's the shelf next to me. That's about 100 VHS tapes right there. But yeah, definitely check out my room tour if you guys are interested in that. But that's a big thing I'm into collecting. I love collecting VHS tapes. And like I said, you find them at You find them at thrift stores for like $1 or less. Sometimes they'll be like three for $1.25, something like that. Um, and I did have probably about 20 of them donated to me from a friend at one point in time. So yeah, they're not hard to find. They're not expensive either. Like even if you wanted to go on eBay, you can find like a decent lot for like $20 that has like a bunch of VHS tapes. But I really want to do that, but I can't. I can't buy those lots because they come with like everything I have. I have like all the big Disney heavy hitters like Aladdin, Lion King, Hercules, what else? The Goofy movie, Flubber, Cinderella, Bug's Life. I have 3 versions of Bug's Life because they have alternate covers. I'm still missing a couple of them. But yeah, I'm really big into VHS tapes. But anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it. I don't know if anybody has any last minute comments or questions. So I'll stay on for just a couple more minutes. And then we're probably going to wrap it up here. I think we covered everything we needed to cover about Fast and the Furious. I just think, I think for me personally, it looks like a good cab. It does have its issues. It does have its false advertising. It has the cheap pedals and the washed out marquee. But gameplay is great. Steering wheel is great. The shifter is great. The artwork isn't 100%, but it's still great. And I think the biggest problem that people have is that this isn't Cruis'N and this isn't Daytona USA. I think that's the biggest problem that everybody has, which, it is what it is. You're never going to please everybody. I'm personally excited for Fast and the Furious. At $600, I'm not sold on it. I do want to hold out for a sit-down version, fingers crossed. But if it does end up going on sale for like, I don't know, $300 maybe or less, hopefully, instant purchase for me. I don't have the space for it. I'll find space one way or the other. All right, guys. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Make sure you give this video a like if you haven't already. I really appreciate that. Share this out with whoever. But I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here. So stay tuned for my next video. Everybody that's into the VHSs, I have a VHS related video coming out sometime, hopefully this week or maybe by the weekend. But definitely smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here. So as always, guys, stay tuned for more, and I'll see you guys next time.